Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome, everyone, to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. All three of the questions today are interconnected. So I'm actually going to read all three of them and talk about all three of them together rather than separately. The theme, as you'll realize, is destiny and purpose and karma. And question one is, what is the ultimate reason for this life? Why are we here? Question two says, what is the difference between karma and destiny? And question three says, why does something bad happen to me when I do not do anything bad to anyone? Certainly a question that we've all wondered at various times in our lives. Why are we here? Well, first let's look at why we're not here, because that goes a lot with where some of these questions are coming from. Most of us think that a good life, a successful life, a life that would be good karma, would be a life in which we'd be successful financially. We would do very well. We would continue to prosper. We would climb whatever ladder we were on, a career ladder, a financial ladder, a social ladder. Whatever ladder we were trying to climb, we'd keep going up. We'd make money. We would receive acclaim in our society. We'd be beloved by our community. We would walk through the streets and people would know, oh, that's, this great person. This is what in many of our minds is the good stuff of life. That which you would think, oh, you must have done something good to get. We'd be healthy. We'd enjoy ourselves. We'd have a healthy family. We wouldn't have tragic things happen to us. This is good. Unfortunately, that has very little to do with the actual truth of why we're here and what it's about. We are here to wake up. We are here to become conscious of who we are, of the divinity of who we are. That is why we're here. We are not here to become presidents or CEOs or billionaires or cover girls or whatever it is. It's not why we're here. We're here to wake up. And that is why it is said in the teachings and the scriptures that the human birth is the highest birth. Because it is the birth in which we are the most conscious. It's the birth in which we have the ability to think about thinking. There's no other species that we are aware of that has the ability to watch itself, that has the ability to be conscious that it is conscious. Humans are the only ones. And that's why it's said that it's the highest birth, because it's only through our consciousness that we can actually come to know who we are. Most animals function on basic survival mode: food, sex, reproduction, protection of one's territory, one's family, one's life, one's food. What makes humans different is we actually have this thing called consciousness. We actually have this ability to look at ourselves and wonder, who am I? That's what takes us toward this path of enlightenment. So that's why we're here. We're here to wake up. We're here to experience, not just read about, not just know, not just pass an exam, but to really experience the divinity within ourselves. That's why we meditate. Because what meditation does is it allows us to have that experience. The truth is always there. But it's very, very difficult for us to experience it. We're looking for that Om. We're looking for that voice of God. We're looking for the presence of God. We're looking for our inner voice, our intuition, our connection, whatever word we use to describe that beautiful, beautiful existence of the divine within us that we know is there. That's what we're looking for. But what most of us do is we go outside to find it. I need this CD, that book, this certificate program, that training course, this thing, that thing, then I will find my Om. And the truth is that it's actually been there all along. It's just that our minds are like this on a regular basis, on a continual basis. This is what inside our mind sounds like. So what that reminds us is that our goal is not to go out and find Om. Remember, we're coming back to the question of why are we here? Well, if we're here to experience the truth of who we are, it's over here. It's with that Om. That's who I am. That is the sound of my soul. That is the sound of my spirit. That is the sound of the universe. That is the sound of the thread that connects me to the universe. But over here, this is the voice of my desires. It's that have been indoctrinated and enculturated. Gotta have a new car, gotta have a new mobile, gotta have a new pair of jeans, gotta lose weight, gotta go on vacation, gotta eat the chocolate cake. That's the desires. The voice of our egos that go both ways, positive and negative. I am so great, you are so stupid, oh my God, I cannot believe that you're trying to tell me this. Who the hell does that person think they are? Or, oh my God, you are so stupid, I cannot believe I said that. I am just the worst. I am worthless. I hate myself. Goes both ways, but it's the voice of the ego. Then we have the voice of our fear. Don't try that. Don't do that. You're going to fail. Who do you think you are? You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. You're not capable enough. We have the voice of our parents. We have the voice of teachers. We have every voice that has ever told us anything about ourselves that we've internalized. You're too stupid, you're too fat, you're too old. Why can't you be as good as your brother, as good as your sister? All the stuff that we grow up with. So you can see there's a lot of voices over here. And our path, in order to actually experience why we're here, is to quiet these voices. And that's what meditation helps us do. It's not that meditation brings Om or brings God. Pujya Swamiji always says, sadhana doesn't bring God. People think, I'm going to do sadhana and then I'm going to see God. Maybe. But not because your sadhana has brought God, that God was somewhere else. You did so much sadhana that God has come. But your sadhana is going to quiet these voices so you actually can hear and experience God. Your sadhana is going to clean your windows so you can see the sun that has always been shining. That's what sadhana does. That's what meditation does. And that's why we do it.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Alaya, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. Our karma and our destiny, and what's the difference, and why if I've never done anything bad, do bad things happen to me? Well, remember I began by saying that we've got a very clear picture of what's good. Wealth, success, health, achievement. But the universe has no such labels. To the universe, it's all good. Because everything that's happening is taking us a step farther to our awareness and to our awakening. That's what's good to the universe. It's not that the universe says, you've been very good, you're going to get something good in exchange. We've kind of convoluted karma and Santa Claus. That Santa Claus knows if you've been good or if you've been bad, and if you've been good, you're going to get a tree full of, presents, and if you've been bad, you get nothing. And that we've really confused this very, very deep and complex and powerful law of nature with our very simplistic sense of rewards and punishments. And this is why I began with the question of why we're here. If we recognize that why we're here is to wake up, why we're here is to experience the truth of ourself, then everything that helps us do that is good. everything that is conducive to our awakening is good. Everything that takes us out of this false identification with the body is good. This is why the scriptures are full of stories of people, devotees, who suffer and suffer and suffer. Whether Job or Kunti and everyone in between. Doesn't matter what religion we're looking at. But all of the world scriptures are full of stories of good people, devoted people, pious people who suffer. And they suffer. The message of their suffering is that through the suffering it brings them closer to God. That's the teaching. When things are going very well, we tend to forget God. We tend to remember God when things aren't going so well. When something happens, this tends to be the time we call out to God. So really the path is to realize that what we're getting to help us wake up. And that which makes it good or bad is only how we take it. If we learn the lesson in it, it's taken us a step farther. It's therefore good. That doesn't mean it was pleasant. That doesn't mean we enjoyed it. It doesn't mean it felt good. But it means in the global concept of goodness, it was good because it took us closer to our destination, took us closer to our truth. And when we don't learn the lesson, what we find is that the universe is relentless. Because that's the goal. Wake up. And if you don't get it this way, all right, give it to a different way. And I'm going to keep giving it to you until you get the lesson. It's like a good teacher. You've got a kindergarten class, you start doing arithmetic. You teach it one way, the child doesn't get it. Now, if you're not a good teacher and you don't have patience, you're going to ignore that student and just move on only with the students who get it. Or maybe you'd even slap the student's wrists, or you'd berate the student. But a good teacher is going to say, all right, you didn't get it this way. How about that way? Doesn't work with pennies, maybe it works with blocks. Maybe it works with apples. And the teacher's going to keep trying different ways to help you understand. Once you get it, then you move to the next lesson. But until you get it, that good teacher is not going to relent. It's their responsibility to make sure that you walk out of their classroom knowing your arithmetic. And the reason that we've taken this human birth is to know who we are. And we're going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back until we get it. And we're going to keep having the experiences over and over and over again until we get it. And so when we say, why do bad things happen to me if I haven't done anything bad to someone else, that's really just looking at it too simplistically. If things that are painful are happening to us, instead of feeling like, oh my God, what did I do? I'm being punished. Ask ourselves a different question. What am I supposed to learn from this? How am I supposed to grow from this? How is this experience yet another layer of the onion of myself that just keeps getting unpeeled and unpeeled and unpeeled? And if you find that you're constantly in a situation that doesn't feel good, as in the question that's bad, well, ask yourself, what seeds are you planting? Again, not good or bad, But we talk in here a lot about apple trees and peach trees and apple seeds and peach seeds. It's sort of a common theme. And what I always say is, if you've got an apple tree today, you can be pretty sure that at some point in your life you planted an apple seed. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad, just means it's the law of karma. And if something is happening in our lives today, we can be pretty sure that we planted the seeds for it in the past. But again, what's important to remember is it's not punishment. It's not reward, it's not punishment, it's not good, it's not bad. Like an apple tree is neither good nor bad, it's just there. It's neither better nor worse than a peach tree. It's just there. But if in our lives we want different trees, we have to plant different seeds. And that brings us into this difference between karma and destiny. The karma are the acts that we do. And the acts that we do reap fruit. Every seed you plant is going to bear some fruit. Again, it's not simplistic, it's not rewards and punishments, it's just a law of nature. Whatever I plant, that's what's going to grow. That's what my garden is going to be full of. Our destiny is what we get based on the karma that we've done. So the fact that you are here right now is your destiny. Nobody waved a magic wand and zapped you all here. From different corners of the earth, you engaged in different thoughts, different acts. Those acts bore fruit. That fruit led you to something else. And there's a series. There's an element of grace in it, of course. You don't get here without grace. But the example that Pujya Swamiji always gives about that, which I love, is he says, you can turn on the tap and have the water flow. And you can have your bucket to fill it up with water. But if your bucket's upside down, water's flowing, bucket's there, but you're not benefiting. And in our lives, the grace is there, the grace is flowing, equally available for everyone. But we've got to make sure that our bucket is facing the right direction. We've got to make sure our bucket is in proper alignment. We just had 2 nights ago, we had a very, very sacred full moon. And the full moon always reminds me of one of my favorite teachings about life and grace and karma, which is, we look at the full moon. And when we see the moon, it looks so beautiful, and we say things like, oh, the moon is so bright, the moon is so beautiful, the moon guides home the sailors, the moon saves the people lost in the jungles. But the truth is that the moon actually doesn't have any light. The moon is actually just a piece of rock, held in the atmosphere by gravity. Very similar to so many other pieces of rock in the atmosphere. The only thing that makes the moon special is the alignment between it and the sun and the earth, due to which it is able to reflect the light of the sun onto the earth. That is what makes it special. When we see the moon, it's not the moon's light, it's the sun's light. It's just that the moon is reflecting the light of the sun onto us. And when the moon is full, it's not that it's changed shape or is now brighter. It's just in better alignment. There's no such thing as a half moon. The moon doesn't grow and shrink and grow and shrink. The moon is the same size. What happens is it comes in and out of alignment in its orbit between the earth and the sun. And I love that teaching, because that's really what it's about in our lives. When we think about our destiny, you think, well, we all want to be bright lights. Whatever for us that means. We want to be bright lights. We want to live in the light. We want our lives to be full of light. And the light is there. The sun is always there. The sun is always shining. It's dark now here, but that's because it's light for our family in California. When it's light for us, it's night for them. The sun is always on. But the moon goes in and out of alignment, and rotates on its axis. And as that happens, as it rotates, as we rotate, the light becomes more and less. The moon looks fuller and less full. And in our lives, when we feel half, or a quarter, or lightless, what we would call a new moon, a lightless moon, a moonless night, to just ask ourselves, not where did the light go, not I've been forsaken, not I need a new yoga teacher, or a new mantra, or a new course, or a new temple, or a new guru. But to just ask ourselves, how did I get out of alignment? And how can I get back in alignment? I know the light's there. I've experienced it. How can I get back in alignment so that I can be a reflection of that light? And that's ultimately what we're all here for. But we're creating our destiny minute by minute and moment by moment. And that's in our hands. And that's what our spiritual practice teaches us, is to really create or co-create with the universe, with grace, our present and our future. There was a great saying that I saw outside of a church in the United States. In the U.S., the churches always have these big signs in their lawns, and they're always wonderful. Sometimes they're very, very Christian, but sometimes they're very, very universal. And this one was very universal. The sign said, "Watch your thoughts, and you will see the future." Watch your thoughts, and you will see the future. And that's the power that we have. It's really the power that we have. Not just, I think it happens. It's not this very simplistic, superficial kind of New Age spirituality that takes us back almost to, bewitched. I'll just think about it and rub my nose and then it'll happen. But if it's where my thought is, if it's where my mind is, if it's where my intention is, then it's where my action is. Then those are the seeds that I'm planting. And then that's the trees that are growing in my life. And that's the fruit I'll have. And that's then my future. So we're planting our own destiny.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book? or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with Inspiration and Transformation. In Chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says that anger and hatred are the greatest enemies of man. How to control anger in a situation where there is a question of justice. For example, when Draupadi was humiliated in front of the Pandavas, how to control anger toward the sin and the sinner in situations like this. So Mayurbai has raised an example from the Mahabharata, which we won't go into in detail, but it's an example, a situation of an evil act, an unjust act, an act predicated upon nothing other than malice, meanness. Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas, just due to Duryodhana's anger and rage and ego and all of that not fun stuff, gets, or attempted to get, disrobed in the court. How do we deal with anger toward the sin and toward the sinner, and hatred? Anger in and of itself is not an evil. Anger can be a great catalyst. You know, many people have this vision of spirituality as that it dulls you, and spiritual people should just be really, really mellow and slow and, you know, kind of with our feet a few meters above the earth, and whatever happens, it doesn't impact us, and okay. Kill all the Jews, kill the blacks, kill the Hindus, no problem. That's not actually the highest experience or manifestation of spirituality. This is repression. This is pushing life away. This is like, there's a very wonderful Buddhist meditation teacher in America named Jack Kornfield, who speaks a lot about how easy it is to be peaceful and to be calm. He had lived in a monastery for many years and then moved back to America, and how easy it is to be calm until you have to go back and talk to your parents. How easy it is to be peaceful and loving and experience loving kindness when you're living in a monastery compared to living in a house with a spouse and in-laws and parents and whatnot, or traffic or paying the bills. But that's not the goal. So it's not about how do we become anger-free, so whatever happens, no problem. Genocide, holocausts, terrorism, violence against women, environmental destruction, no problem. It's all an illusion. It's okay. That's not the goal. The goal is freedom. Freedom to act. What most of us do is we react. So you say something, it makes me angry, I react, I slap you. Or should I be a different sort? You make me angry, I punch my hand through a wall. So I've injured myself, not you. Or I go home and I beat my kid because I couldn't talk back to you, you're my boss or something. And so I go home and I take it out on my wife or my kid or my employee. It's all a reaction. The purpose of life is to act, not to react. And these days, sadly, with our social media and everything that we just keep getting busier and busier, it's just more and more things that we react to. And if you actually look at our lives from when we wake up to when we go to sleep, how many of us make lists of things that we're going to do that day or the next day or that week? And then the day is over or the week is over. We've been super busy, nonstop, but nothing on our list got done. And you sit there and you scratch your head and you think, but I haven't stopped. Haven't sat in the jacuzzi, haven't had a manicure, haven't, sat in bed painting my toenails. It's not like I've been idle. What's happened? Why did nothing get done on my list? And the reason is because all of these other things that life gives us, an email, a phone call, an SMS, a this, a that, and we react to it. So we're reacting instead of acting. That's where the problem comes. That's where we've lost our freedom. I had made a decision today that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But the day ran away from me because this email came, that message came, this phone call came. So I've had to just react. With anger, if anger can be a catalyst toward action. So injustice makes me angry. Violence makes me angry. Not in a reactive way, not in a way that makes me slap you or beat my kid or punch my fist through a wall, but just in a way that there's an energy in me. There's an energy that's moving, that's saying, do something. Serve, respond. If your arm itches, you're going to scratch it. It's not a bad thing to do. The arm is the self. If you cut yourself and it bleeds, your arm's going to immediately go there to stop the bleeding. It's self. If our response to injustice is the response of something is not right, do something. And it's a catalyst for action. It's great. There is nothing wrong with emotions. There is nothing wrong with passion, with desires, with all of these things, as long as we are able to experience them in freedom rather than being slaves to them. Desires are only a problem when I am a slave to it and I have to eat the chocolate cake, have the beer, whatever I'm doing, buy this thing. I wasn't going to buy it. I was on a budget, but I wanted it so badly. I had no choice. I've lost my freedom there. There's nothing wrong with chocolate cake as long as I've made a free, conscious decision to eat it and enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with shopping. I've made a decision, I'm going to go, I'm going to buy something. By all means, sure, why not? The only problem comes when I didn't have a choice. And so anger, when I don't have a choice, I'm the first victim of that anger then. Then that anger, instead of being an energy that says, do something, is a fire that burns me. There's a beautiful saying that says, getting angry when somebody hurts you is like saying, they've made a mistake and so I'm going to punish myself. Duryodhana did something evil. I am now going to punish myself by burning with anger inside. Doesn't solve the situation, doesn't impact Duryodhana, doesn't protect Draupadi, doesn't make sure that that situation never happens. All it does is burn me. It's useless. But anger that's a catalyst to action, that inside of us says, this isn't right. This is injustice. That's a very powerful motivator. And there's a lot of things going on in the world that we really should be angry about. That in fact we should be much more worried if we're not angry about them than if we are angry about them. But our losing control into the anger doesn't serve anything. Doesn't help our world, doesn't help us. But being able to sit with the anger and acknowledge it's there because there is something that's happening, that's not right, that's not in alignment with truth, and recognizing that with my actions I actually can be a vehicle for change. That there's an energy in the universe that wants to set it right. I mean, this is what Krishna tells us. Whenever there is darkness in the world, I incarnate to bring back the light. Whenever there is a dharma, I incarnate to bring back the dharma. Well, he doesn't say, and I only incarnate in this form or that form, and if I don't have my flute, you can be pretty sure it's not me.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Alaya, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
When I broke my foot,
for leaving me alone when I wanted to be alone.
And now, as a grown-up, I'm thankful for being able to take care of you, my dear mom, for taking you to your therapies, for understanding that sometimes you simply want to be alone.
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, and thanks for coming back and joining us for more of inspiration and transformation. Maybe God is trying to incarnate through every single one of us. Maybe this incarnation, instead of being one form as it's been before, maybe the situation is such today that every one of us gets to be a vehicle, gets to be that through which the energy flows. So if I can acknowledge that that experience of anger is there and not push it away, not eat it or drink it or gamble or shop it away, but experience it and then see what it wants me to do, not as a reaction of breaking my knuckles in the wall, but where there's energy, there's movement. And if there's an energy of anger, and we're able to just be a vessel, then that energy can bring about movement toward righteousness. And ultimately, going back to the Bhagavad Gita, this is what Krishna teaches in 700 verses, is not, I'm an advocate of violence, but Arjun, you are just a vehicle. You're a vehicle for the divine flow that needs to happen in this case to bring back Dharma, to bring back righteousness. And that's the way for it to happen. And the last piece about this, as you mentioned about hatred. Hatred comes when we identify the sin with the sinner. When I identify the act with the being. And that really does burn us. And it burns us on a much more lasting way frequently than anger. Anger tends to come and go. Hatred tends to sit and fester. And the antidote to hatred is to understand that just as you are not your fears, you're not your confusion, you're not your upbringing, you're not all the stuff that we talk about every night, so is that person not. And even though this horrible act flowed through that person, it's because that's all they've got. It's like this air conditioner. What this air conditioner gives you is cold air. Feels great today. We've got a little extended summer. It shouldn't be this hot in October, but it is. The AC feels great. In January, it's not going to feel so great. But the AC can't help it. If I turn that on in January, it's still going to give me cold air. It has no ability to respond effectively and skillfully to what the situation requires, because all it's got is cold air. And many of us sadly are like this. Based on our upbringings, based on our experience, based on our karmic package, what we've got is the emotional equivalent of cold air. We've got fear, we've got anger, we've got grabbing, we've got jealousy, we've got competition. And so that's what we give. Turn us on, that's what you get. Not because this AC intends to give me pneumonia in January. Not because it woke up in the morning and said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that one. The minute she comes near me, I'm going to give her a good case of bronchitis. But because that's all it's got. People don't wake up in the morning deciding that what they're going to do is commit heinous sins that are going to bring about great suffering. Even those who are doing things that we look at as terrorism, as heinous sins. If you bring them in and you say, why are you doing it? They're going to say, they've got very righteous explanations for what they are doing. To restore justice, to restore this, to restore that. Read the interviews with Charles Manson. I mean, he had a whole rationale for why he was doing what he did. It's fascinating psychologically. I'm not going to go there tonight, but it is. And if you're into that kind of thing, it's really interesting to read the rationales given by those we label as just evil, horrible, crazy people. Every one of them thinks they're doing the right thing. It's all they've got. And what that means is that for us, if I stood too near to that AC and I caught pneumonia, okay, it's a bummer. I better get the antibiotics. I should treat myself in the hospital. I should be very sure not to stand near air conditioners anymore in the winter. But for me to hate that machine serves no one. And that's really the way to think about hatred, is whatever people have done that have made us hate them, they did it because that's all they've got. Doesn't condone the act, doesn't mean what they did is okay. Doesn't mean I should keep standing near air conditioners in January or send all my friends in to have a party near the air conditioner in January. But it means that I don't allow hatred for the AC to ruin my life, or convince myself that hating it is somehow the right thing to do. Because that just kills me. Doesn't change the air conditioner. Doesn't change my pneumonia. The key there is action versus reaction. And the ego is incredible. It can justify anything. Do not walk out of here, and I don't mean you, my Yorbai, I mean you, the general you, and react to anger, and then explain it away by saying, yeah, that lady said it was okay as long as I used the energy to change things. Well, I taught you a lesson, didn't I? The key is freedom. And what that means is I can't react in the moment with the anger. I have no freedom in that moment. I'm in a sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, tunnel visioned reaction. I have to stop in that moment. And I have to sit so that I'm able to see and experience the energy. Allow the wave of it to crash over me. It'll dissipate. And what's left? What's left after the, how dare you, who the hell do you think you are, oh my God, I can't believe it. After that dissipates, because that stuff doesn't last very long. The energy that is left is the pure response, the pure human connected, alive response to that which is happening to ourself in another form. Does that make sense? And that's the energy with which we act. But you have to first let all of the ego reaction dissipate. And then use just the energy that's pure, that's left, to act. This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week. And I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.